Donald Trump wants America to reclaim the Panama Canal. He argues Panama has treated the US unfairly since gaining control. Trump insists that America built the canal, made huge investments, and is now being taken advantage of. But what's behind these strong statements? And why is the canal suddenly becoming a big deal again? Let's look closer at what's going on. But before we do, please subscribe to our channel for new deep dives into geopolitical trends uploaded every single week. Donald Trump has never been shy when criticizing deals he believes hurt American interests. He often says that past leaders let the canal go for almost nothing. In his view, the US built it, funded it, and used it more than any other country, so it was a mistake to give it up. He has repeated the US gets overcharged when its ships pass through. He calls it a foolish gift that cost billions to build, yet it now benefits Panama more than it benefits the US. According to him, the treaty that transferred control in 1999 included promises that Panama has failed to keep. He claims the original agreement said no one would discriminate against the US on tolls, but he insists that these fees have risen too high. Critics of his argument point out that tolls have gone up for everyone. They note that Panama expanded the canal at a major cost. That expense led to higher transit fees for ships from every nation, not only from the US. Still, Trump's words suggest he sees something deeper going on, such as favoritism or price gouging that targets American companies. He also mentions that Panama's promise of neutral operations has not been honored. In his mind, the canal should not tilt in any direction. He implies that some nations, perhaps China, gain unfair influence at US expense. His goal, it seems, is to bring attention to what he calls a broken deal, and even threaten force if it's not fixed. That stance shocks many experts, who says the US has no legal right to seize the canal. Trump claims the US is being ripped off. But is the Panama Canal truly unfair, or is the reality far more complicated than that? The canal is one of the busiest waterways in the world. Data shows around 14,000 vessels cross this route every year. Each day, dozens of ships save days or weeks of travel by cutting through Central America. Without it, a journey from Asia to the US East Coast would need to go around South America, adding huge fuel costs and extra time at sea. A typical container ship might spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to pass through. The exact fee varies based on factors like size, cargo type, and scheduling. Some large vessels pay over $500,000 in tolls. During tight conditions, auctions for prime transit slots can push costs even higher. There have been times when ships pay millions to jump the line. But why does it cost so much? Upkeep is not cheap. Panama spent over $5 billion on a major expansion that was completed in 2016. This massive project allowed larger ships to pass, which kept the canal relevant as global shipping grew. Rising maintenance costs, new locks, and concerns about water usage during dry seasons have also led to higher charges. The canal relies on water from nearby lakes, and droughts can force new rules on how deep a ship can sit in the water. The United States remains the canal's top user, with about 70% of the traffic connected in some way to the US ports. Big shipping lines weigh the toll against the cost of skipping the canal. When fuel prices are high, it can still be cheaper to pay the toll rather than sail thousands of miles farther. On the other hand, some smaller routes might choose to avoid the fee and go around if they have less cargo. Trump complains that the toll structure hurts US commerce. He believes the Canal Authority charges more than necessary. Yet the canal is a state-owned group under the government of Panama. It aims to generate revenue for the country. Over the years, these earnings have become a vital part of Panama's budget. supporting services like education and public infrastructure. Before we judge today's situation, it's crucial to remember why America built this canal and how Panama ended up in control. To understand Trump's remarks, we need a quick look at the canal's origins. In the early 20th century, the US government set out to build a waterway through Panama, which was then a province of Colombia. The French had tried to build a canal before, but disease, engineering challenges, and financial issues brought that effort to a halt. President Theodore Roosevelt saw an opening. He backed a Panamanian independence movement. Soon after Panama became its own country, the new government signed a treaty granting the US the right to build and run the canal zone. Construction began in 1904 and lasted 10 years. Workers battled yellow fever and malaria, both rampant in the region. Engineers faced mudslides and harsh jungle conditions. Over 5,000 laborers lost their lives to disease or accidents. The canal officially opened in 1914. It shortened the sea route between the Atlantic and Pacific by thousands of miles. The US Army Corps of Engineers managed the entire zone. American families lived in segregated communities along the waterway, with their schools and hospitals. Panama received some money from canal revenues, but the US was in full control. Over time, tensions grew. Many Panamanians felt that America was acting like a colonial force. Protests arose, and violence fled. In 1964, riots over the display of the Panamanian flag in the canal zone led to deaths. That crisis pushed leaders in both countries to rethink the arrangement. By the 1970s, times had changed. Decolonization was a global wave, and many Americans agreed that the canal zone looked like a leftover from another era. In 1977, President Jimmy Carter and Panamanian leader Omar Torrijos signed treaties that gave Panama full control over the canal by the end of 1999. The treaties also said the canal would stay neutral. Any threat to the neutrality would allow the US and Panama to cooperate to protect it. On December 31, 1999, control of the canal passed to Panama. The US military bases closed and the canal zone no longer flew the stars and stripes. For many Panamanians, this was a historic moment of pride. However, some Americans felt it was a mistake, thinking that the canal was a major asset to national security and should never have been relinquished. History might explain past tensions, but Trump's biggest worry today is something else entirely: China's rising influence near America's strategic waterway. One major concern raised by Trump and some lawmakers is China's role. Chinese businesses run key ports at each end of the canal. Beijing also invests in Panamanian projects, including logistics and infrastructure. This creates anxiety in the US over potential leverage. If a conflict ever arose, could China disrupt American shipping by influencing how the canal operates? The Panamanian government says it manages the canal without favoritism. Ships from any country must follow the same rules. Officials say the canal's neutrality is a core principle. They also argue that private port operators, even if Chinese, cannot control toll structures or scheduling in the main transit system. Still, US officials worry that Chinese companies must follow the rules of their government. In a crisis, these firms might follow instructions that harm US interests. The canal's finances could also matter. Panama depends on canal income for a large chunk of its national budget. If a foreign power offers loans or other perks, it might gain political sway. Over the past decade, Panama has moved closer to China in diplomatic terms. In 2017, Panama cut ties with Taiwan and switched recognition to China. This shift surprised many observers, who saw it as a sign of growing Chinese influence. President Trump and other critics see these events as proof that the canal is no longer neutral in practice. They view any sign of close ties between Panama and China as a threat to the spirit of the original treaties. Many experts note that China is an important customer of the canal. Chinese goods travel to the US East Coast through these locks, so it benefits from smoother trade as well. So there is no simple proof that China wants to block the route. Instead, most see it as part of China's global shipping strategy, where it invests in ports and trade corridors worldwide. Could the US reclaim the canal to reduce China's grip? International law scholars say it is unlikely without a serious breach. The treaty allows the US to work with Panama if the canal's neutrality is at risk, but it does not grant a free pass to seize it. Trump's repeated talk of retaking control might be symbolic. It could be a warning to Panama to limit Chinese activity or face consequences. What realistic steps could America take? How might Panama react if tensions continue to rise? Let's explore this. Right now, the canal continues to operate under Panama's leadership. It's succeeded in expanding capacity and traffic remains strong, but tensions linger. Some US lawmakers share Trump's view that Panama treats the US unfairly. They ask why tolls keep going up and if the money is used responsibly. Others point to supply and demand economics. They say that as shipping grows and expansions cost more, fees must rise. The question is how far the US might go to protect its shipping interests. Trump has hinted at military action, but that is unlikely in today's diplomatic climate. Such a move would face global condemnation. It could also disrupt world trade and hurt the US economy. But the possibility still appears in some of his remarks, keeping the issue alive in international media. A more realistic path might be diplomatic pressure or trade negotiations. If the US pushes Panama to cap toll increases or give special rates, that could meet US shipping needs, but Panama would likely resist. Its leadership sees the canal as a sovereign asset. They view special concessions as a rollback of independence. In the long run, the canal is set to remain an economic lifeline for Panama. The government invests in water management to counter the impact of drought. New shipping routes might also appear, including the Arctic route if ice recedes. But for now, the Panama Canal is still the fastest and safer option compared to other passages. Some wonder if a new agreement could emerge. Perhaps the US might offer financial support for canal improvements. In return, it might seek stable toll rates. Yet this idea has not gained much traction. Relations between Panama and China seem strong, and the US would have to present a deal that truly appeals to Panama's long-term plans. So the debate is not over. It involves money, history, and international politics. While Trump's words may not lead to immediate change, they have shone a light on ongoing friction. The future likely holds more negotiations, especially if fees rise again or if new global alliances shift the balance of power in maritime trade. Trump's desire to retake the Panama Canal mixes economics, history, and geopolitics. His accusations about unfair fees and China's involvement raise difficult questions. While America likely won't regain the canal physically, Trump's approach signals a push for better terms and strategic influence. Understanding these issues helps explain why this century-old canal remains at the heart of American policy discussions. Stay connected with Global Dialect for more deep insights into global developments.